Hello students. We all know 2020 has been a tough year for all of us, and especially for you all who have been appearing for IBDP, IGCSE and A-level board exams this year. To support you, we at EduWatch have taken this initiative of starting this Prepathon series where I'll be inviting our senior most faculties for all the subjects of IGCSE, where they will be sharing some valuable tips and tricks and provide you with the guidance how to prepare for your upcoming exam. I'm sure it's going to help you prepare your subject well and boost your grades. So let's start. I welcome our senior most faculty of maths, Dinesh sir, who's been with us from last 14 years teaching IGCSE, A-level and IBDP maths. I've seen in so many years that students have a phobia for maths. Whichever level they are, and they need a lot of time to prepare this subject. They need a lot of practice. It's a very different subject as compared to the other IGCSE subjects. But in this journey of so many years, I've seen Dinesh sir working so hard with the children that not just the good students at maths who have achieved A's and A stars, but the average students have started liking the subject. And this is what I keep hearing from the parents. They appreciate that the children who are finding maths difficult have started liking that subject now. And I think that's half the battle won. What I also admire about him is that he does a very close supervision with the children and personally take interest in them, where he identifies their aptitude and counsel the parents about the level of the maths. Sometimes even these children have gone beyond and taken add maths, that is the additional maths at IGCSE level, even when the school was not offering. I remember like few years back, I think around 10 to 12 years back, we had two students who were very, very good at maths and they were doing extended maths with us. But Dinesh sir shared with the parents that their level is really so good that they can go for add maths. And we made those children appear for extended maths as well as additional maths. I welcome you, Dinesh sir, today for this session where I would like you to share your valuable tips and how our children can prepare best for their IGCSE exam.
Thank you, Dimple ma'am. Thank you for your kind and encouraging words, I would say. And as you said, it's always a pleasure to be able to help and guide our students. If any support, any help we can provide, which can help them, add value to themselves. So it's always a pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So before we start, I would like to continue what I was mentioning, because sometimes I come across that the school gives them the form to fill up for the additional maths. Is it a part of IGCSE curriculum?
So I think it's a good question, Dimple ma'am, what you mentioned. So though probably, it's a topic that we can talk about in details in a different video. But just to answer your question, in fact, I would like to clarify that today what we're going to talk about is, it's called extended mathematics and the subject code is 0580. So as you said that there are other maths also. So for example, there is an add math. So we recommend it to the students who are strong in maths, where we see a certain potential, where we see that probably those students will be going for careers which require higher maths. So in fact, there we only, as you mentioned about those students, and also over these years, in fact, many schools at that time were not even offering add maths a long 10, 12 years back. Now that those schools have started offering, and some of the schools do not even offer that. So if you remember, I think some 2 weeks back, we had the present batch parents. So wherever I thought that few students, they were good with it, we had a meet with them. So we counseled them, we guided them. But I think, Dimple ma'am, the one thing that I formally believe is how we can add value when the parent is coming to us, when the child is coming to us, how we can get that extra help, that extra edge to the child. And it works in both ways, ma'am. One, if the student is good, so how we can make him excellent. And as you also said, it's not always about excellence, ma'am. It's also where the students are struggling with math, because we need to accept and respect that not every child is cut out for maths and this thing, because each child has their own strength. So there are also students. So how we can help them also? There is also an international maths. Now, international maths is not ahead or behind. Like core maths, you can say is lower level. Add maths is next to the extended maths, and international maths is a substitute for extended maths. There is a perception that international maths is superior. Maybe there is a minor difference. Okay, there are some small topics are there, they are allowed graphic calculators and all, but in a very broader level, I don't see much difference. That is, of course, the student's choice, the parent choice, and the school is offering well. I mean, it probably, there is a perception that it aligns well with the IBDP. So that's for you. Whatever they're comfortable, they can go ahead with.
I absolutely appreciate and acknowledge the fact that that every child is different, and as you mentioned, like there are certain students who are really struggling with maths, and I've seen you working so relentlessly hard with them that they have really scored very well in their maths and they become so comfortable. In fact, I remember some 10-12 years back when there were 4 students who joined us for grade 10th, and they were given core maths by the school, and after 3 months when you work with them, we called the parents and you said no, these children can be pushed for extended maths. And I remember that then of course throughout that 1 year you worked so hard with them that out of those 4 students, 2 got A's, 1 got B, and 1 got an A star. And that girl Sakshi came and met me 2 years back. She's finished her post graduation from UK, and when she came and met me and she said like, ma'am, do you remember my maths marks? I got an A star in grade 10. So that child, after so many years remembering that marks, it's not about just the grades, it's the confidence that she has. Okay, I can take chances in life and I can do it, which will remain with her throughout the life.
That's true, ma'am. Because sometimes school have to take a decision in a wider level. So they had their own thought, but we felt that if we work hard with those kids, they could do better. Today, that child, she's grown up. She's a beautiful lady now, and she comes back and she felt that she remembers her old days. So, but I think that's the satisfaction. If you're able to add that extra value. And that's what I said, why parents would come to us. They're anyway spending their money and time in school. So I think if we can do that, that gives us that satisfaction, that yes, when these kids, they come back, we feel good about it, ma'am.
Yes, of course. And I think what you mentioned about international maths, I feel it's taken more by the IB schools. The
Yes, to some
students
extent,
like
yes.
MIP and IBDP, those schools are offering them international
Yeah,
maths.
otherwise is offering, so
Yeah.
the R has started offering a choice between the with 2 subjects. So yeah, like that. Correct. You are right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the level of extended maths and international maths is not that different, and even the approach is not very different.
No, no, not that different. As I said, there is a small difference of few topics here and there, and the use of graphic calculator, but not really. I mean, there is a small difference. I'm not denying that, but like not at a macro level. So they are substitutes. So whatever they're comfortable, they can go ahead with that. As I said, there's no problem.
Now that with all this valuable guidance that you have shared with the parents and students, I hope that will help clear their confusion regarding core maths, extended maths, add maths, and international maths. So many years, like I've seen your students, 80% of your student gets A's and A stars, even the weaker ones I've seen reaching to that level. So I would like you to now share your valuable tips and guidance now, how in these few days our children can prepare for their upcoming board exams of
Sure,
2021.
ma'am. Sure, ma'am. So
Yeah.
I assume that by now the student, they've been working hard for last 2 years and they're prepared now. So I'm not going to talk about any kind of a revision or important topics and all. So as a teacher, I think as a part of last minute preparations, I'm going to talk about is, those specific questions, those specific areas where I feel either they get overlooked or where the students find it confusing or they find it difficult or they tend to make a mistake. Also, just to clarify, I will not be able to explain those things. So I'm only going to point out that, before they go to the examination hall, they better take care of these things, because if I start explaining all these things, the session will become maybe a 3 or 4 hour session. So here my purpose is just to point out these few things. What I think is they better be careful with, they better be prepared with, and they should know how to do it. So if you allow me, ma'am, I'll just go ahead with that. Is that fine?
Yes, please. Please, sir, go ahead.
So I'm just going to share my screen here. So As I said, ma'am, today we are going to talk about the extended math 0580. So let there be no confusion here. Of course, the tips are general, but it is specifically meant for this extended math, not for international maths or core, or of course not add maths and all here.
Sure, yeah. Most of the students are appearing for extended maths.
Students, guys, I hope, as I said, that you've been working hard for 2 years, and I hope you all are prepared by now. Just a few things, please keep this in mind. So अगर आप ये numbers और algebra वाला topic देखेंगे, so you know that they ask 2-mark question. This is typically asked in the paper 2, maybe for 2 marks or something. And like something like they'll say, for example, convert 6.19, it's a recurring decimal, or let's say 6.19, and the recurring is both. Maybe there's a dot at both 1 and 9. So how do you convert to fractions? So make sure that you know this kind of a thing. Next, your reverse percentage. So what I mean by that is, if I tell you that you buy a t-shirt for $78 after an increase of 30%. So $78 is the new price after the increase. What is the old price? It's called reverse percentage. I hope you all know this one. Take care of this. Students do make mistake in that. You guys, a 3-mark question come in the paper 4, question 1, last sum. Usually it is this one. It is a reverse percentage. Be careful. Students do make mistakes there. I can ask you the same question the other way around also. I can say, for example, a t-shirt now costs $42 after a discount of 30%. What was the original price? So be careful with this thing. Irrational number, it seems very kind of common and all, but you guys or students do make mistake. Please remember, pi is an irrational number. Yes. Is 22/7 an irrational number? No. It is just an approximation. Is 3.14, is it an irrational number? No, it is a rational number. So don't, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Or for that matter, like, if I just write a number here, let's say root of 24 upon root of 6. Now, root of 24 and root of 6 both are irrational numbers. But if you divide them, this number itself, because it will become root of 4, the answer is 2. It is a very much, so this entire thing is very much a rational number, not an irrational number. The maps and scale, again, you guys make a mistake, especially, so when we say, the scale is 1:400,000, and the first sum they'll ask you, like if it is 3 centimeter on the map, what is the actual distance? Now my point out is in the area. Be careful with that. Practice at least 2 to 3 sums here. If you have practiced, well, but otherwise be careful. The area wala sum. So they'll say area on the map is 3 centimeters square. How much it is in the actual? Or they might say actual area of a park is 120 kilometers square. How much it is in the map? So please take care of this one. Another small things is these kilometer per hour, 2 meter per second, where let's say I can say, like a typical case is where we say that a train is running at the speed of 72 kilometer per hour, and the length of the train is whatever, let's say 180 meters. How much time is going to take to cross a particular lamp post or a signal, something like that? You all know that you have to find the distance here, because the train will not take hours, it will take few seconds. So you'll have to convert the kilometer per hour into meter per second and then do it accordingly. I hope you know what I mean. Other related thing is your cubic, like one. So keep this in mind, 1000 centimeter cube. 1000 cubic centimeter is equal to 1 liter. I hope some of you know this, but just to point out, it's equal to 1 liter. Your next thing is factorization. Very, very important topic. Very, very important topic. Factorization. I hope you all are kind of, okay with the, I'll just show you this thing here. So if you look at this page, I'm talking about these 3 sums. So here in the first sum, you take the common out. You know what I mean? The second one, it's like a square minus b square. So you can say 5x minus 2y and 5x plus 2y. And the third one is, that product and sum. You have to break the middle. Be absolutely clear with this. The next one is completing the square. So this is, I hope you all know what it means. So this kind of a thing, they'll say x square plus 4x minus 8 can be written in this form. Find the value of p and q. Completing the square. Make sure you're okay with it. simultaneous. Now, this was not there long time back. It was, that it's a topic which is added in the last, I think, 2 years or something, where it is not so it's a simultaneous equation where one of the equation is linear. I think I may have this example here. Let me see. Okay, look at this one. The third sum here. Look at this one. So one of the equation is a linear equation. The other equation is a quadratic equation. So how do you solve this kind of a linear equation? So be careful with that part. Of course, in the sequences, you all know in the paper 4 last question, a long question come there. So they ask you A part, B part, C part. Now, one of the question there, what I feel you got to be careful is, I've taken an example here, is something like this. So, so they typically give you the diagrams. So for example, in the, there are 6 mats in the first pattern, there are 16 mats in the second pattern, and then they think a total of, so this what is given here is the total of first n patterns. Total of first n pattern, you'll have to add 6 and 16, that. And then you can put n equal to 1 and equal to 6. Then you put n equal, because the first, first diagram has 6. Then you put n equal to 2 and you don't say equal to 16. Okay, 16 here because it make the first 2 pattern, correct? Yeah. So the first pattern is 6 and the first 2 patterns 16. It becomes simultaneous equation. You have to solve the simultaneous equation to get the value of A and B. I hope you understand. The next one is shading. So you just be careful with, like for example, if I have to write an inequality for, let's say this one. So it is a dotted line, and of course the area, the unshaded area, if we have to define, so we'll say y is less, but only less, not equal to. It's a dotted line, not equal to. Again, if you have to talk about this y, this area above it, you will say y is greater than -2, not equal to. Okay. So just be careful with these things. Okay. We move on to the next part, perimeter. So look at this example here. See here, if I ask you area, so you all would say, area of this semicircle, this chota wala semicircle, plus this rectangle. But if I ask you the perimeter, you got to be careful. Now here, many students make a mistake here because guys, perimeter of the shape would mean only this part, the length of the boundaries, only this part and only this part. If you see the rectangle sides are playing no role in the perimeter of this shape. It's only the 2 circles ka circumference. That's it. Like a similar example, if you see here, like the perimeter doesn't consist of this thing inside here. You know what I mean? So you just look at like this. You say 5 plus 3 plus 9 plus 3 and plus this one here. So be careful with the perimeter. Area is usually not a problem. Coming to your formulas, mensuration formulas, area, volume, that formula method in the factorization, gradient, the distance between the 2 points, the formula for the midpoint. So all these formulas, so prepare them well, because it shouldn't happen that for a formula you lose like 2-3 marks. And I find it surprising sometimes, oh, I forgot the formula. How can you forget formula, guys? You've been working hard. You can't lose 2-3 marks for not remembering a formula. There are these, okay, this is a typical problem which they ask you sometime, this kind of a question. So just be careful. They'll say that let's say you have a paper in this shape, like a pizza slice, or what we call a sector. And if you fold it, if you OA and OB, if you bring these edges together, it will form a cone. So I hope, I'm not going to explain it, but you all know that this AB arc will become the circumference for the circle, and the OA will become the slant height, not the height, the slant height. And in fact that, like suppose if you need the height, so you can use Pythagoras here, because this becomes, you can find the radius because you know the circumference, you know the slant height, that OA or whatever, and you can find the height using the, what I mean, like using the Pythagoras. You can do that. So just be prepared with this one. The problem relating to running water, they'll say a water is coming out of the tap at the speed of 10 centimeters per second or something like that. And they'll give you the thickness of the pipe, the radius of the mouth from where the water is coming. And they'll ask you how much time it's going to take to fill up a particular container or something like that. Be careful with these. Many students make mistake in this. Another similar problem in mensuration is, something like this. where they'll say, for example, if like this already contains some water, and if you immerse two spherical objects, then there'll be a rise in the water. So what is that rise? So I think something like this you've got to be careful with. Then you have the polygons. Now in the polygon, you all know, so my suggestion will be you better use the formula for, how do you find the number of sides? So you know that exterior angle is equal to 360 upon n. So you can also say n is equal to 360 upon exterior angle. Work with the exterior angle wala formula, then the interior angle wala formula. You can do that. There's no problem with that. But exterior works better, faster, simpler, smarter. Okay? Because you know that even if you know the interior angle, you can minus it from 180 to get the exterior angle. So just be careful with that part. Just one small thing also, I know that you all know similarity. But when the similarity question is asked in context of transformation, like for example, here, now you know that this bigger triangle is an enlargement of the smaller triangle by the scale factor 2. And in the next part, they'll ask you the area of bigger triangle is k times the smaller triangle. And though you all know that in similarity, that if the shape becomes double, the area does not become double, it becomes double ka square, you know that. But here somehow you don't connect that and you say double. So here, if the scale factor is 2, the area will, the area will become 4 times, like, you know what I mean? So just be careful with this kind of a thing. Now in the circle theorem, my suggestion will be, of course, you all supposed to know the rule, that 7 or 8 rules. And whenever, so typically a question comes, they'll give you like a circle with many lines going up and down here, tangent, diameter, this and that. And they'll say angle X, Y, Z, W, whatever. And many of you are tempted to answer that question because you know that I know. So that's fair. You can know that. But my suggestion will be here, just pause. See what all rules are applicable. So there are a few things which obvious you will get it, but few things are not so obvious. Maybe one line going here and there, so there is an application there. So my suggestion will be look for what rules are applicable there. So if there is a quadrilateral kind of a thing, look for cyclic quadrilateral. If there are too many lines crisscrossing, so you know that angles in the same segment or angle at the center is double the angle at the circumference. If you see a tangent and a radius, it's 90 degree. Or for example, if there is no tangent, then those rules are not applicable. So first you see what all rules are applicable here. Then whatever they ask, we'll be able to. So spend at least a minute before you answer the question to see what rules are applicable. You have enough time. Your paper 4, you get 2.5 hours. So I don't think the time is usually a problem. Now I'm not saying you go in a very comfortable way, but no hurry, no anxiety. So you can, I think and do. There's no problem on that part. Let's move to the next set of topics. Now here, that angle between an edge and the base. So this is again one of the classic, question in the trigonometry. And again, I mean, some of you know this, and this is one of the standard thing they ask. But again, I see many students, having a problem with this. So for example, if I take this example here, this PB, if I ask you the angle between the slanting edge PB and the base ABCD, which angle am I talking about? I'm talking about this angle, guys. I'm talking about this angle. I'm talking about this angle, and it is not either this angle or it is this angle. Not at all. Not at all. If I'm talking about the angle between the edge PM and the base ABCD, is going to be this angle. Let me just draw it for you. It's going to be this angle. And of course, there's an application of your right angle triangle and SOHCAHTOA and all that thing. So I mentioned it here, you can see here. So just be careful with this one. Okay, sometime, they ask you, so be careful with the wordings. So they'll ask you obtuse angle. And suppose you do some, trigonometry, your answer is not coming obtuse. Obtuse, it is coming less than 90 degree. So you have to do, suppose your answer is coming, let's say 65 degrees. So answer is not 65, you know that. It is 180 minus 65. Because sine of 65 and sine of 115 will give the same answer. So it could be 65 also and it could be 115 also. But if they're saying obtuse angle, then it is 115. So just be careful with this small thing. Another small thing is, I remember in one of the paper, there was a mistake. Many students had made the mistakes there. See, what happens is in the y-axis, if usually it is meter per second in the speed time graph I'm talking, and in the x-axis you have the time in seconds. Of course, there's no problem. But I remember when one of the paper, what they did on the y-axis, you had the speed in meter per second, and the time on the x-axis was in minutes, and many students got it wrong. Many students got it wrong. So you have to convert that minutes into second, because you can't have minutes and their meters per second. So just be careful that the units on the y-axis and on the x-axis, they align, they're synchronized. The another one is in your graphs. Basically, like if you come across, so you all know that you're asked to make a table and then you make a graph. Look at this one here. Can you see this table here? And can you see a division of this table here? There's a dark line in the middle. What does that mean? This graph will be in two parts. So you will probably have a graph on the maybe the left hand side of the y-axis and the graph on the right hand side. But there is no point on the y-axis. The graph is not passing, touching, or cutting the y-axis. The graph is in two parts. So be careful. Otherwise, you will get the whole graph wrong. You'll get the whole graph wrong. So be careful with that, please. Of course, your parallel line and perpendicular line, that parallel line will have the same gradient. Perpendicular line the gradient will be inverse and the sign will be different. And how do you find the equation of a perpendicular bisector? Meaning, if I give you, the coordinates of A and B, and there's a perpendicular bisector, how do you find the equation of that one? So first you find the gradient of AB, then you reverse it, you change the sign basically, but you don't have a point. So you also have to find the middle point of AB, midpoint, using that formula. And now with that you have the midpoint, now you can place this and get the answer. So this usually comes for almost like 4 or 5 marks. Many students make a mistake in this. Be careful this, guys. Please make sure that these are the, because I've been, I think, doing it for now 12, 13, 14 years in and out, and I'm giving these small suggestions. You guys have been working hard for 2 years. So, so take care of these things, because, like what you don't, when you lose 2 mark, 3 mark here and there, I understand. But losing any marks for some kind of, I didn't see this carefully, or I didn't do that, is going to be like, so of course you're going to regret it. So I think the whole idea of today's session is to kind of, make you aware, make you cautious about these potential errors, potential gray areas, what can, bring about the or error or something like that. Okay, I already spoke about the formula for gradient and length and midpoint. Be careful with that part. Okay, this is another one thing that I would like to talk about is, okay, now let's take this example here. And suppose they are typically in the sets, they ask you to shade the region. Suppose they say C complement intersection A intersection B, and many students make a mistake in this. When it's simpler, then you normally get it right, but like this kind of a thing. Now my suggestion, I normally tell student, a good idea will be you number these regions, just number them in a rough working. You can just number them. Let's call them something 7 and 8 or whatever it is. Now what you do now, so what is C complement? Outside C. What is outside C here? So if you can see here, the C complements comprise of 1 and 2 and 3 and also 8. Do not forget that, please. And the A intersection B comprises of 2 and 4, only 2 and 4. Now, what is the area which is common to both? You can see 2 here, and you get and you end up shading in your quotient only the 2. It's very difficult if you think mentally. 90% you're going to get it wrong until unless you're very strong with it. So this is I think a tool, a suggestion. You should use it. You should practice it. I always tell my students. So one other thing is, like let's say these A and B and C are the toys. So between a group of children, so some children have all the toys, some children have the toys A and B, some have B and C, some have only one toy. Now I'll give you an example here. Suppose all toys, there are 10 children who have all the toys. So you will, or that you will put 10 here. All the 10 children have all the toys. Now listen to me carefully. Now if I say the toy A and B, how many children have? A and B. A and B, how many children have? So let's say I say 19 children. I say 19 children have the toy A and B. Many of you will tend to write here 19. It's wrong. It's wrong. You only have to write 9 here, because that 19 also includes this 10, because even those 10 children had A and B. I did not say 19 children had only A and B. I said 19 children have A and B. So this is a common mistake if this kind of a question comes. I hope you understand. Be careful, please. Guys, the next one is about your stats, probability, and vectors. So here, I think one of the question you're going to be careful is how to find the height of bars in a histogram. I'll show you one question. So if you look at here, so of course, you know that in a histogram, you cannot show the frequency as the height of the bar. It is a frequency density, which is frequency upon the class width. And there also you got to be careful, and you cannot just plot whatever the frequency density is, wo utna height. You can't do that. Like for example, if you see here in this question, they have given you the height of the class 30 to 40. So hear me out. First, you find the frequency density, which is 30 upon class width is 40 minus 30, which is 10. So 30 upon 10 is 3. Now, when the frequency density is 3, the height is 9. Then similarly, you find the frequency density for each of the other class and you do the cross multiplication. I hope you get the point. Okay, the other way around. They give you the histogram. They give you the histogram and they want the table back. They want, like, look at this one. Now here the histogram is given to you and you go back to the table. So again, the class is fine. I think you can say 0 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12 and all that. How do you find the frequency? How do you find the frequency? So again, guys, be careful. Some of you make mistake here. So the way to find frequency is, again, that formula you can go back. The frequency density is equal to frequency upon class width. So frequency is equal to frequency density into the class width. Frequency density here is the height and the class width is the width of the bar. So if you see, it is the area of the bar, the height into width, which will give you the frequency. So you write the class and you write the respective frequency. In fact, then they can ask you find an estimated mean and all. So those things you want to be careful with that part. Okay, this is another thing. I think some of you still, it's not a difficult thing or whatever, box and whisker. For some reason, I think still some of you either didn't bother to or may have done it long time back, forgotten box and whisker. So they'll give you a question. You need to know what a box and whisker is. What are the things shows, lowest, highest, median. So, and maybe a question like this, if I just show you just an example. Yeah, look at this. So they'll give you a box and whiskers diagram and, they'll ask you to compare the two diagrams. So you need to comment on, you look at the median, you look at the highest, lowest, you can find range, you can find interquartile. So it can be for 4, 3, 4, 5 marks. So you be careful with this one. Then you have, this is another one small thing. It doesn't happen usually, but it can happen. Now this one is in the cumulative graph. I'm talking about statistics here, of course. So if you look at this one here, can you see what is the maximum value on the y-axis? It's 400. What is the number total, that whatever the number of days and all, that is not 400, that is 365. That is 365. So the maximum on the y-axis doesn't have to be the total number in that question. And whenever you have to find the median, lower quartile, upper quartile, you don't look at the maximum number on the y-axis. You look at what is the number in the graph, or better, you look at the question. So if you see here in the, look at the question, they'll say number of whatever it is 365. So you have to use 365 to find your median, lower quartile, upper quartile, all the things, not 400. All your questions will go wrong. All your answers will go wrong. You lose at the entire marks. Be careful with that. This is another, like one thing where they say write down all the, so for probability. So, like if I ask you, they say a dice is thrown twice. What is the probability you get a total of 9? And some of you just jump into finding this upon this into this upon this. So for example, only one of the situation is like you can get a 9. How? You can get 6 and 3. So some of you will find the probability of 6 and getting the probability of 3 and then multiply. But some of you make a mistake. So, before you jump, I'm not saying it's wrong, but the right way is because there are 4 ways that 9 can happen. In the first row, you can have 6. In the second row, you can have 3. You can have 3 in the first row, 6 in the second row. You can have 5 in the first row, 4 in the second row, 4 in the first row, 5. There are 4 options. There are 4 ways it can happen. So my suggestion is, before you jump into finding the probability, write down all the options, the way it can happen. Then find each of the probability, and then you need to add them up. You can write there. You can write throw 1, throw 2. As a T1, T2 करके लिख सकते हैं आप. Then you say it can happen 4, 4, 5, 5, 4, 6, 3, 3, 6. So be careful. But my point is, write down the possibilities. If it's a small question, then it's okay. But typically this kind of a question, you cannot do it directly, you'll make a mistake there. Another small thing in probabilities, they'll say, for example, like they'll say that look at the D part, at least one red. So at least one red, matlab, like suppose if there are 3 draws of that, marble or whatever, so there can be at least one, matlab, there can be one red, there can be 2 red. Again, 2 can happen in red, non-red, so there are many options there. So I think if you all understand, a better way to find at least one red, this is only applicable for at least one red, you say 1 minus none of them is red. 1 minus, so you remove the probability of, suppose there are 3 draws, so you say first one does not have a red, second one does not have a red, third one does not have a red, find that probability, minus it from 1. At least one red mein aap ye karenge to you'll be better off with this. Not to say you can't do the other one, but it'll be long. Okay, this is, I think that's pretty much. The final thing is one small example I would like to, in the vectors, I'll just give you small examples. Like if you see here, so they said x to y is vector s and z to x is vector t. And let's say, for example, they want you to find, listen to me, x to m. Now, how do you go from x to m? So you can go from x to y, which is s, but how do you find y to m? Now you cannot directly find y to m. Some of you there, how do I find this? You cannot. You have to first find y to z, which is like a minus s minus t. You have to find y to z, and then of course you can do half of y to z. You will get y to m. So my point is, find that first. Okay. Sorry, Dimple ma'am, if I took a long time and became too technical. So, but I think these were the few things. So whatever came to my mind, I shared with them. So I hope, they get the help. And of course, we pray that, their exam goes well and all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dinesh sir. I think it was a very, very good session. Children keep practicing mathematics for a long time, like, 2 years they've been working so hard. But, sometimes they make these small mistakes in the exam and they keep losing the marks. And that really lowers their grade. Generally, we say, okay, in theoretical paper, they have to read the question carefully. But here in maths, it's all the more important, if one figure they don't copy rightly and then the whole calculation goes wrong further.
So those, ma'am, if you allow me, in fact, those are the few general, because what I spoke about is more was technical subject related.
Sure.
So, but as you said, absolutely. So this is not subject related, but this is more, how their mind works, how planned, organized, and careful they are. And I cannot agree more what you said, that in maths, that reading. So, so one thing, ma'am, you said, see, what happens is, because of course, these are kids and it's an exam, the teachers and parents have been after them, exam, board exam. So they go and they have butterflies in their stomach. But ma'am, on a serious note, what I would suggest them is be absolutely calm, be absolutely poised, be absolutely assured. And there is a reason for it. I'm not just trying to preach it. See, ma'am, whatever they know by now. I tell them, abhi agar koi question aapko nahi aata hai, to wo to वैसे भी नहीं आने वाला है. But in fact, what happens is, if they become anxious, the fear is what they know well. They can make mistakes there. That's my worry. My worry is not what the 2 namak question, what they may not know and they will lose. My worry is what they know well and they make a mistake because of that, that a little bit of, that kind of a thing. So that's the reason, ma'am, it's very, very important. I cannot overemphasize this. They have to be absolutely assured. They pray to God and they say कि जितना है बिल्कुल एकदम अच्छे से करना है. In mathematics at IGCSE time, they get 1.5 hour for paper 2 and 2.5 hour for paper 4. Time is usually not a problem. I'm not saying they can take their own sweet time and sleep over it, not that way, but they have to be careful and they don't have to hurry. They don't have to be anxious. In fact, usually they will get about 15 minutes to spare after getting the paper done. So they must, so they can do it with a very calm mind, focused mind. They should not get distracted there. So this is more of a psychological discipline we're talking about, the discipline of your mind. How calm you are. So I say pray to God, take blessings of your parents and all, and go and this thing. So another thing is what you mentioned about the reading the question carefully. Now here we have a question here, and they say calculate the value of the investment at the end of year 6. Now here they're asking for the value of the investment. They want total at the end. Sometimes they may only say what is the interest or what is the increase. So they have to be careful. They all know how that it's a compound interest. So when they want total, it is the amount. When they want only the increase or the interest, they have to minus from the amount, they have to minus the principal. Not only that, look at this last line here. They say give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. Now, suppose if the answer is whatever, let's say 21.6 something, they have to round up to 22. They lose 1 mark there. They lose 1 mark there. So this is what I'm trying to say here is that they have to read the question carefully. Like, for example, if I say that some candies are distributed between two children, A and B, and in the ratio of, let's say, 5:2, and I give the number of candies as 42, just an example. Now they have to be careful what that 42 is. Now I can say the 42 is the total number of candies and then how much A gets and B gets and blah, blah, blah. Or sometime I can say that 42 is what B got, then how much is A or how much is total. So these are the things they have to be careful. So this is, I think, they have to read the question carefully. Sometime they may have done a similar question and they may just, okay, oh, ye wo wala hai. It doesn't have to be wo wala. It can be a different one also. A similar question can be asked in a different way also. I always say that, I think one thing, a criteria to ensure is, have I answered what is being asked for? Like, have they asked for the increase? Have they asked for the amount? Have they asked for the difference? So they should not give, have I answered that part? Sometimes it is written in bold. The thing is written in bold what they want. Still students don't do it. So now there is nothing wrong with maths. It's not that they don't do the topic, but they're just not being careful. So they have to be careful. I think the general tips can go a long way. Another thing is, of course, be calculation. I think, have a small example here. Be careful with the calculations. So, of course, we all say this one, like, a typical example here is where if you're trying to solve this and all. So when this m plus 4 goes here and gets multiplied with 4. Now, many of them, what they will do if they do it in a hurry, so they will say minus 4m and they'll say, because it is, so I've written here, you see, the minus 4 into m is minus 4m and minus 4 into plus 4 will be minus 16. But अगर वो यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं लिखेंगे तो वो लोग गलती कर देंगे. They'll just say, they just go in a hurry and they'll, they'll not realize that. They'll only feel that minus 4 is getting multiplied with the m or not even multiply this. Just a small example I'm trying to share with you.
Yeah, sure.
So then other thing apart from that, yeah, there is in the exam, there is a space dedicated to write their final answer. So there is a blank given in this thing. Sometimes what they do is they'll just leave their answer somewhere at wherever they're doing the working. Not a good idea. How does the examiner know what is the answer? There could be 3 numbers written there, 60 and 60 minus 20, 40 and 40 something. What does the examiner know what is the answer this thing? So whatever their final answer is, that place is meant to write their final answer. So they must write their final answer in that blank, which is meant for writing the answer. They must do that. Another, I think, is the working part. Now, one thing is, ma'am, like we all have been, grown up with this CBSE or the Indian boards and all. And where, if you remember, they used to say, oh, write every step, write this and that and all. And of course, that was a good idea because the idea was there to show all the working. But to be honest, because Cambridge is it's an international board, so they are not very fussy about it. But yes, of course, you have to show a reasonable working. If you are arriving at a figure, if you are whatever calculations you are doing, the answer cannot flash in the air, right? So whatever answer you are writing, you must have done some working. So it is always to show that working in a way that examiner can understand. So he knows, okay, this is how, you got the answer or whatever. Another thing is if any particular question is difficult, so maybe they can spend 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If it's a 3-4 mark question, 4 minutes. Stop after that. It's not that they have to prove their guy. No proving here, please. Okay, so they must leave that question there. They must go back, complete the entire thing. Only when they will get a time usually at the end. So not a good idea to lose another 5-6 marks for that 3-mark question. Absolutely not. So please guys, do not spend undue time on a particular question. अगर आपको नहीं आ रहा है, आप उसको छोड़ दीजिए. You go to the other question, complete them. You can come back to these later. Another one very, very important thing, ma'am, I would like to tell these kids is they use a scientific calculator. So before they go to the examination, they must ensure that the calculator is set to the default mode. Sometimes it may be in a different mode, तो उनका जो आंसर आएगा वो गलत आएगा. Usually नहीं होता ऐसा, but हो सकता है और ऐसा हुआ है 1-2 बार in the past. In fact, there is an option there in the calculator where they can convert the time into hours, minutes, and seconds. And also there is a way you can see the standard form. So if they're using this kind of a calci, so these options are there. So if they can familiarize themselves, not necessarily I would say, but that can come handy for them. Maybe it may be slightly help for them. So maybe they can keep that in mind. And just a final word, ma'am. if they read the instructions carefully, which is given at the first page of the examination, it says you have to write your answers to 3 significant figures. Meaning यहाँ पर answer correct नहीं है, बहुत ऐसा point something 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 जा रहा है. So, but please understand, it means if the answer is 47.375 and it stops there, then they have to give the full answer. The question says if it's not an exact answer, then they have to round it off to the 3 significant figures. I'm not saying 3 decimals. I'm saying 3 significant figures. They all know what it means. If it is an angle, they have to give up to 1 decimal place.
Okay.
If it is a bearing, suppose if the angle, the bearing of A to B or whatever it is, if it is let's say 49 degrees, they cannot write 49. They have to write 049. They all know that. The bearing has to be given in 3 digits. एक mark जा सकता है उधर, जा सकता है मतलब, because the examiner can always do that. और अगर money है, dollar है, rupee है, yen है, so I think they are okay with if they give, because money like 2 decimals, we can't, no point talking, the 2 decimal दे सकते हैं. Now these instructions are applicable if the question does not specify anything. If the question specifies give your answer to nearest this and that, of course they have to go by what the question says. So I think that's pretty much, ma'am. I think whatever came to my mind, I've tried to share with the kids, and I'm sure, but I'm very sure, because as I said that I've been doing it, because day in day out we deal with kids and do. So we kind of, as a teacher, we develop that, we get to see there, कि कहाँ वो गलती कर रहे हैं. And as I said, they're working hard. So if we can help them, and I think that's the whole idea of the session, that it's not about any important topics or revision and all. It's just about that last minute, like things to keep in mind kind of a thing, and careful and all. So I would say अगर ये 1 घंटा ये बच्चे लोग अगर अपना if they can just go through these, and if you can keep these things in mind, I'm quite sure they'll find it helpful, and for them, and we pray to God. I mean, that all the best to them, and our blessings to them. We keep our finger crossed. They do well. So yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely, sir. Students, I hope you are listening to it carefully, and these kind of small tips and techniques, and where you people generally make mistakes, because for you it's the first time you're appearing for the exam, but we have seen last 15-16 years so many students going through the same journey, so we know where the common mistakes are being held. And I'm sure with all the guidance what sir has given you, it's going to help you, so you can adopt these techniques and make yourself better at that. And also towards the end what sir shared, I can't agree more than that. Like you all have to go with very peaceful and calm mind, so that you don't make any mistake in reading the question. It's very, very important that you read the question very carefully, and you are doing it with a focused mind, where you are taking everything step by step. And I'm happy to know that the children don't find that time management problem in IGCSE mathematics, because
Usually it's not.
yeah, because other subjects they do find, they keep coming and telling me, oh ma'am, the time was very less. So we have to work on their time management skills as well. But in maths, if you don't have that issue, I would suggest last 15 minutes you please take care and revise your paper once. And again, unlike Indian curriculum, like in CBSE or ICSE, where we had to do manual calculation, you already have the calculator with you. But yes, do take care of the modes, the default mode, and other things which can help you use that calculator in a better way. And Cambridge is testing you on application skills even in a maths paper. So that's the beauty of this curriculum, where you have to apply your knowledge. So whatever concepts and practice you've been doing, and now is the time to just apply it. And it will only happen when you are with a peace, calm and relaxed mind. And maths is a subject you can't do at the end. You've been working throughout like 2 years for that. You've already practiced everything. It's a subject of practice. And I think the session was so helpful, and so much of valuable insights you must have got from sir. And I feel like, if I would have got a passionate and such a hardworking teacher like Dinesh sir, I would have been majored in maths. Though I was good at maths, like when sir was teaching, histogram and statistics, I could connect to that. I used to love it. But yes,
No, ma'am, you are already
parents
you
do.
are already hardworking. You are already working hard for the kids. So, in fact, it's always it's good to see you, being so concerned and trying to do. And I'm happy. In fact, you took out this time and you took this initiative. Pleasure, I would say, to and thanks for your time. So yeah, but I see you running around and doing all these things, trying to put together things how it can benefit student, and so you are already working hard for them, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dinesh sir. And it's all God's blessing. I'm blessed with such wonderful, passionate teachers who could share the same vibes. We have been continuing this journey and adding value to our children and helping them achieve their best potential, and hope to continue this journey ahead with them. So students, if you have found this valuable and it has helped you, and if you want to connect with us, our details are given below, and we wish you all the very best.
So if any student, if they want any kind of a clarification, as a teacher, I'm there, we are there too, and it's a pleasure if he or she can always reach to us, and we are more than happy to help the student, ma'am.
So nice of you, sir. So students, if you are getting stuck somewhere, you can get in touch with us. You can write it in the comment section of our video, and we'll make sure that we answer all your queries. All the best to you. Love and blessings. God bless you, and have a wonderful journey ahead.
Hello, guys. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. God bless you all. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.